Here at the BBC, we are enchanted by all things American. We always have a dozen or so reporters standing by, in London, on a rota, to record a commentary for news stories as they come in from the news agencies. Here is a look at some of them.
The White House says Mr Stone has been treated unfairly. Freya Cole has more.
Who was found guilty last year. My colleague Pierre Bertrand reports.
Texas set new daily records for increases in coronavirus deaths and hospitalisations. Alana Petrov reports. As the number of cases of COVID-19 in the US passed 4 million. The BBC's Nick Johnson reports.
The first hurricane of this year's Atlantic storm season has hit the coast of southern Texas. Sophia Tran-Thompson has the latest.
Questions remain over the seriousness of his illness and the wisdom of his actions. James Landale reports.
Thousands of people have been forced out of their homes near the US city of San Francisco. Tanya Dendridros reports.
600 wildfires, some of which are the worst ever seen on the US West Coast. Rich Preston has this report. 15,000 firefighters are battling 23 separate blazes across the state. Simon Jones reports.
As temperatures fall across many of the central and southern states, more than 2 million people are without power. Gail McLennan has this.
The Boeing 777 was flying from Denver to Honolulu when it happened. Mark LaBelle reports.
Donald Trump has called for a boycott of American tyre company Goodyear. Paul Hawkins has more.
Our correspondent Paul Adams looks at America's options.
This first report is from Sarah Campbell. White women in particular have shifted away from President Trump over the last 4 years. Here's our population reporter, Stephanie Hegarty.
Yes, there really is a population reporter here at Broadcasting House to tell us all about white American women. For all I know, there is a whole department of population reporters. If no one is available at Broadcasting House in London to narrate over some stock footage, we regularly call on reporters from BBC World News to help out on busy days.
Well, we can go live to the United States now, to Kenosha, Wisconsin, in fact, and BBC World's Yalda Hakim is there for us.
And officials have declared a state of emergency in Texas. Angelica Casas sent this from San Antonio.
And, if push comes to shove, our US partners can always lend us one of their reporters.
The BBC's US partner CBS has confirmed that President Trump did receive supplemental oxygen before he went to Walter Reed on Friday night.
This news has come through from our colleagues at CBS News.
And CBS correspondent Laura Podesta in New York explained what's known about the case.
As we employ more than a dozen journalists on our London news desk to cover US news, and we also have reporters from BBC World Service, plus contributions from our partners at CBS, license fee payers often ask why we need to spend nearly £250,000 every year to maintain John Sopel as the BBC's North America editor.
John Sopel, BBC News, Washington. John Sopel, BBC News, Washington. John Sopel, BBC News, Washington.
John Sopel, thank you.
John Sopel, BBC News, Washington.
John Sopel, thank you.
John Sopel, BBC News, Washington.
John Sopel, thank you.
But, as well as giving insight and analysis, John is at the head of a large team at the BBC Washington Bureau. Some of the people currently on the payroll include Paul Dunaha, North America Bureau Chief; Tom Gagan, Deputy Editor; Ron Brown, Editor; Franz Strasser, Video Editor; Chelsea Bailey, Producer; Matt Morrison, Producer; and some of the journalists reporting stories, who you may recognize from your telescreens: Gary O'Donoghue, Aline McBool, Barbara Pletusha, Holly Handrick, Hannah Long Higgins, Anthony Zerka, David Grossman, Tara McKelvey, Rita Prasad, Shri Poppet, Nonu Iqbal, Katty Kay, Lebo DeSecco, Larry Madoho. But wait, there's more. The BBC employs a good few more reporters, who are spread around the states. Michelle Fleury, New York. Peter Bose, Los Angeles. Sophie Long, Los Angeles. David Willis, Los Angeles. Tom Brook, New York. Laura Trevelyan, New York. Nick Bryant, New York. Jane O'Brien, New Hampshire. James Clayton, Silicon Valley. Jessica Loosehop, New York. Nada Twafk, New York. Balman Kabasi, New York. Zoe Thomas, New York. Samira Hussain, New York. Ben Wright, New York. Dan Linwin, Toronto. Will Grant, Mexico. There is a management theory that, if a department is given an unlimited budget, it will quickly employ the number of staff required to fit the payroll. We have just run through a list of 56 full-time BBC staff bringing us the news from the US. At some point, license fee payers will start asking if this level of staffing is really justified in 2021. I, of course, couldn't possibly comment. Good night.